Hello and welcome to Technocare Industries SAP Geek. This is Anurag and today we'll be seeing country-specific info types for Canada Payroll. Purpose of this video is to explain the info types available in standard SAP for handling statutory part for Canada. So we'll be discussing info types 461, that is tax assignment, 462 provincial tax, 463 federal tax, 464 additional tax data, 66, 67, and 68, which are related to garnishment order, debt, and adjustment. So let us jump into system and see these info types and discuss the processes, statutory processes of Canada Payroll in brief related to each info type. Let us start with the four tax info types present for Canadian Payroll. The four info types present for taxation is 461, 462, 463, and 464. So the first three are mandatory for each and every employee, and 464 is the optional tax info type. So let us start with 461, which is tax assignment. Tax assignment info type stores all employment jurisdictions for the purpose of tax calculation. Data stored in the tax assignment info type includes employee's province of employment, the employment jurisdiction, province of residence, and province of health tax. So, for any employee, the province of employment uh, and province of jurisdiction, province of residence, and province of health tax may be different. So, for capturing basically all these provinces, uh, SAP has provided this info type based on the data that is captured in info type 461. Uh, SAP determines which records for provincial tax that are maintained in 462 and the additional tax data which is maintained in 464 will be utilized during tax calculations. So let us move on to info type 462. Info type 462 is provincial tax. So the provincial tax info type stores the important provincial taxation information that is used to calculate provincial tax withholding in accordance to employee's province of employment, whatever is stored as per info type 461. Let's say province of employment was stored as captured as Quebec. So um, these are the fields available for capturing details of form TP. So because this is Quebec, it is form TP. If it would have been Ontario, it would have been TD1. So basically form TD1, form TP 1015, and that 1015R series, all these forms, the details of these forms, to capture the details, these info types are used. So for each province or territory or a separate subtype is dedicated for info type for this info type, and the province specific territorial withholding requirements are captured. The fields are available for this. So the total fields which are available are the total personal tax credits given to employee based on the province. So as you can see, we have selected Quebec, so automatically 15012 Canadian pounds, Canadian dollars are defaulted over here. Similarly, we have provision for capturing non-indexed credits, the any other deductions and additional tax. Similarly, if any letters of waivers are issued to the employee by the tax authorities, the total deductions and credit amount also can be captured over here. The time constraint described above mandates, each provincial tax info type, that is 462 record, exists until 31/12/9999. However, although provincial tax info type records cannot be delimited, they only influence tax calculation if they are reflected within the tax assignment info type. That is, if if the tax assignment info type is maintained for a particular period as cubic, only for that particular period, system will refer info type 462. So it doesn't matter if the same info type is present till 31/12/999, and let's say employees province changes from Quebec to Ontario. So another record would be created in 462, but effective that period, that second record will be referred, and this record Quebec will not be referred, even though the end date is 31/12/999. So the province of employment is all dependent on, the calculations are dependent on what data is maintained in info type 461. Now let us move on to the next info type, which is 463. So federal tax info type is also a mandatory info type. We cannot run payroll if we do not maintain this info type. This info type stores important federal tax information, which is used for calculating federal tax withholding for the employee, like total personal tax credit for from the form TD1, estimated remuneration and expenses from TD1X, and letters of waiver, if any, and details of such deductions and credits issued to the employee directly by the tax authorities. So we also have to implement a body for customer specific setup for enabling option one and option two for any employee. That would be the first IMG SPRO node for enabling this federal tax calculations. Let us check out uh, the last info type in taxation part of Canada Payroll. Now this 464 info type 464 is additional tax data info type. Now this is an optional info type, and we can execute payroll even if this info type is not maintained. This info type is similar to info type 462. So if you recall, 462 was also maintained based on the province of employment. This is also maintained based on the province of employment. For example, let's say this employee is in Ontario. Okay, so based on the Ontario, all the uh, exemption that we can maintain, that a employee can possibly have, will come over here, and I can, in an event, let's say for example, employees federal is exempt from federal income tax. So I will come here and mark the exempt flag for this employee and maintain, and this will be picked up during the tax calculations. So this thing happens in the standard function KTXDM during runtime. So just like info type 462, corresponding subtype exists in additional tax data. Okay, for each province and territory, the employee is tagged in 461. The difference between 462 and 464 from a system perspective is the time constraint. That is 464. This info type you can delimit. Okay. Unlike 462, but the behavior is same. Whatever is tagged in info type 461. Okay, the main tax assignment info type. Accordingly, that the based on the province of employment, the record corresponding to for that particular province will be selected from 462 and 464 for calculations. Now let us move on to the garnishment info types 66, 67, and 68. Now, data is stored in three separate info types, but the same screen, in the same screen of info type 66, we can capture the entire data. So, the garnishment order contains the administrative information about the garnishment. which includes the status of the garnishment, that is whether it is active, pending, or released, the type of garnishment, whether it is support, credit, tax levy, etc., the date garnishment was received, released, or the date of the court order. Okay. So the details of the vendor or agency also we can capture. Basically, this is a mandatory field we have to capture whenever we are processing garnishment for any employee. We have to capture the details of vendor over here, and also we can capture garnishment fee. That is the rule, as well as the uh, Canadian dollars to be processed every month. So. Infotype 66, 67, 68 uh, are all used for garnishments, and all three infotypes are linked together. So it may not be obvious that more than one infotypes is involved. So everything we will be maintaining over here, and in background it will be captured in 67, 68. So that was all for statutory part of country specific Canada payroll infotypes.